Don't you love it when you are filming an entire video and for some reason it shuts off? So we're gonna try this video again. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Let Hallie Read. If you want to get to know me and why I started this new channel, check out my BookTube newbie tag video. Today, we are throwing it back. Every Thursday for the foreseeable future, I will be publishing Throwback Thursday videos where we talk about just books from the past. Classics, books we read, a lot of us read in middle school, high school, college, and yeah, just revisit some of those. For this episode, I will be revisiting Jane Austen. Jane Austen was one of the first classic writers I read in high school. I randomly picked up Pride and Prejudice and then fell in love with the 2005 Keira Knightley adaptation, and then fell even more in love with the 1995 Colin Firth adaptation. Yeah, for that reason, she deserves the first spot in our Throwback Thursday video series. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to rank her 6 most notable works. These are the ones that you see turned into miniseries and film adaptations all the time. I am not going to cover her other minor works like Lady Susan or her other uncompleted works just because I've never read them and I'm not as familiar with those. I'll also be talking about the different adaptations that come along with these books. When I first started reading her books, I always tried to watch the adaptations that came with them. And some I really love and some I'm not a huge fan of. So yeah, we're gonna talk about the adaptations as well. So let's get started. Number 6, Persuasion. Persuasion is about Anne Elliot, and she comes from a pretty wealthy, well-to-do family, and she is courted by Captain Frederick Wentworth. She has to reject his proposal for marriage because her family doesn't think he's good enough, and so she ends it. However, 8 years later, Frederick comes back in full force, has a major glow up, and is in deep regret. This book is last just because I didn't really feel interested in the characters very much. I hate to admit this, but I watched the 2007 adaptation with Sally Hawkins and wasn't a huge fan of the casting. So I watched that adaptation before I even read the book, and it kind of ruined it for me. I try not to do that. I try not to watch an adaptation before I read the book if I plan on reading the book. If I don't like the movie or adaptation, it just kind of ruins the book for me because all I see are those characters and I can't get into it. Okay, number 5 is Northanger Abbey. This book is only this low on the ranking because I really don't remember much of it. I read it once like 6 years ago for a class. I just don't remember a lot of it, but I do want to read it again. It's on my read again list. But it's a satire about a girl named Catherine Morland who reads too many Gothic novels and is a bit unaware of reality. She was like me in high school when I read Twilight 4 times and decided that Edward Cullen was my, pillar of excellence for men. Anyways, number 4, Mansfield Park. Mansfield Park is a sweet, humble girl named Fanny Price. She lives with distant relatives who really disregard her and don't really treat her very well. Her steely goodness wins them over in the end, and she falls in love with her cousin because it's the Regency. Fanny reminds me a lot of Little Dorrit by Charles Dickens. These women are so infuriatingly kind that it becomes annoying almost. They have so many opportunities to stick it to everyone who's been horrible to them, and they don't. Just don't. No, that's the lesson that Jane Austen is trying to teach us, but it doesn't mean I have to like it. Will say the 1999 movie with Frances O'Connor is really good and definitely adds more depth to the story. It was one of those rare adaptations that I felt made the book better, that doesn't ever happen. Interestingly enough, Mansfield Park used to be much higher on my list, but it's so interesting how your rankings will change. So yeah. just kind of weird. Number 3 is Sense and Sensibility. Sense and Sensibility actually used to be a lot lower on my list. I actually did not like it for a long time. However, I did read it again for a class that I was taking, and I found a new appreciation for it. So it is higher on my list now. Sense and Sensibility follows sisters Marianne and Eleanor. Eleanor is level-headed and personifies common sense. Marianne is more emotional and reacts to her sensibilities, hence Sense and Sensibility. They get kicked out of their home when their father dies. The home goes to a son from a previous marriage because it's the Regency and women just really couldn't catch a break. So they have to start living differently. They move into a small cottage with their mother and younger sister, and it's not the best of times for them, but they do have some love interests come along. First, we have Colonel Brandon, who is attracted to Marianne, but Marianne doesn't want anything to do with him. He's too stuffy, he's too boring. She instead wants the more romantic John Willoughby. He's not a good guy. And Marianne becomes interested in Edward Ferrars, but he's promised to another woman. Classic Jane Austen fashion, this all becomes resolved by the end with minor bumps and bruises along the way. As I said, I really didn't like this book when I first read it. I've since had a better appreciation for it. So many people love this book. I was always very nervous to tell people that I didn't really like it. No fear, I do like it now. It's much higher on my list. I love the 1995 movie. I mean, you've got Emma Thompson, Kate Winslet, Hugh Grant, Alan Rickman, all in one movie. I mean, have you seen Love Actually? Minus Kate Winslet. Okay, number 2, Emma. This is another one that I actually had lower on my list for a long time because Emma drove me crazy a little bit, but I found her more endearing as I've gone along. Emma is this overly confident young woman who tries to play matchmaker for everyone she knows, and honestly really doesn't do a great job at it. She thinks she's really good at it, and sometimes she is, but sometimes she isn't. It's a wonderful little comedy and it has a really sweet message by the end. I really do love Emma's independence. She really wasn't interested in finding her own love story. She genuinely wanted just happiness for other people. Unfortunately, she was just a bit clueless. What I did there? There are so many good adaptations of Emma. My favorite, besides Clueless of course, is the 1996 Gwyneth Paltrow version. That might be a controversial opinion. I like Gwyneth Paltrow, and I actually quite like her in period pieces like Shakespeare in Love. Yeah, I liked it. I know that they recently just did an adaptation with Anya Taylor-Joy, but I have not seen that one yet. I was way too engrossed with her in The Queen's Gambit. Number 1, this should not come as a surprise to anybody, but it's Pride and Prejudice. How do I adequately summarize this book? Long story short, Mr. Darcy is super rich and has too much pride, which makes him try to avoid Elizabeth Bennet, who he's attracted to, but she doesn't come from money, and her family's a little crazy. Elizabeth, on the other hand, is very strong and independent and strong-headed, and equally as stubborn. She really doesn't want anything to do with him anyways. This book has really great tension between so many characters, and I just absolutely love it. I feel like we see this trope a lot in a lot of romantic stories where they don't like each other, but they're somehow attracted to each other. And if you do it right, it can be really fun to read and really entertaining, and it can really draw you in. But let's talk about what's really important. 2005 Keira Knightley adaptation or the 1995 BBC Colin Firth adaptation. I mean, on one hand you have, and on the other hand, you have, I mean, they both have their merits. But seriously, the 1995 version has to win because it follows the book to the letter. It has such great casting. All the characters are so accurately portrayed. They don't miss a beat with that miniseries. Okay, guys, that is it. Thank you so much for sticking with me during the first Throwback Thursday video. Check back on Tuesday for a new video where I will be talking about the books I've read so far in 2021. Please like and subscribe, comment, tell me what your rankings are, tell me what favorite adaptations of Jane Austen movies you like, and yeah, just chat with me, and I can't wait to see you down in the comments. See you later.